16 impounds, and I believe that's a record for F1. I don't recall ever having 16 impounds in the past. So, did you guys freeze?
We did not.
Okay, because nobody's moving on the screen. Okay, I'll close briefings from commissioners for myself, and I'll open it up to other commissioners. Commissioner Teddy or Commissioner Zoka?
For me, I'd just like to take a second to thank staff who put the agenda together. There's a ton of work that goes into this agenda in the closings of the previous agenda and to get this next agenda out. So I'd just like to thank everybody for their hard work on it. I know it's not easy and there's a lot of back and forth, but I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zoka?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to echo those comments, thanking staff. It's again, a long agenda with a lot of items, a lot of work goes into this. And I want to thank all of them for their hard work. I also want to wish everybody a happy holiday, Merry Christmas. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay. All right, that takes us to item number 8, briefing from our Deputy Commissioner, Mr. Park.
Thank you, Chairman. I first want to let you know that Chief Del Padre is not here today. I know Jason Brown, supervisor with the enforcement staff, is here, and I'm not sure if he got any orders to talk about the enforcement staff, but I also wanted to echo the numbers from F1. It was incredible. These guys were out working overtime and did a great job. So I echo your thoughts on that. The second thing, I would like to call Hope D. Bartolomeo up here. I always get tongue twisted when I say that.
Miss D. Bartolomeo, welcome.
So there's a couple of things being a supervisor that are good, and there's some things that are bad. But one of the most important things is to recognize our staff when they've reached certain milestones within the agency. And Hope has been with the state for 20 years now. And I received a certificate signed by Governor Lombardo for her 20 years of service. And I wanted to just recognize her publicly for all the things that she does. And I could spend hours going into the things that she does nice for the agency, and I could probably spend about 5 minutes talking about the hard time that she gives me every once in a while. But Hope's amazing, and I'm just very happy that she's reached this milestone. So thank you, Hope.
Congratulations. You know, Miss Di Bartolomeo, what this means though is 20 years, you've only reached half of your service life.
2/3.
And Chairman, lastly, I'd just like to mention there were 2 other certificates sent to us. Both of them have left the agency and retired. Karen Rayson and Yvonne Shelton, both of them received their certificates as well. They were not here today, but we will make sure that they get those certificates.
Thank you so much. That's great. Okay, anything else, Mr. Park?
Nope, that's all.
And so we don't have a briefing from our Chief of Enforcement. So that takes us to a report from Legal Counsel, Ms. Guerra.
Hi, good morning. For the record, Jessica Guerra from the Attorney General's office. This is my first official week with the Nevada Transportation Authority as having them as one of my agencies. So I have really nothing to report at this time, but I'm happy to be here.
Okay, welcome and thank you. Ms. Wilburn?
Nothing for me, Chair.
Okay. All right, that takes us to our first section, and we'll note that we can block items 11 through 13, and I'm not sure why we've segregated 11 and 13 out, 11, 12, and 13 versus 14 through 82. But let's start with this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm at fault for that, Mr. Chairman. I was because of my prior state employment, I won't be able to participate in block one, which is items 11, 12, and 13, but I'll be able to participate in the rest. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay, so that, all right, that explains it. All right. So do we have anyone wishing to speak on items 11, 12, or 13? Okay, seeing none. Hold on just a second. Let me just make sure of something here in Reno. Okay, I apologize. I just needed to ask a question of someone in the room, what they were here for. I just wanted to make sure I didn't skip over the top of them. So, Mr. Teddy, we have no public comment. I'm looking for a motion for items 11, 12, and 13.
I'll move to approve those items, Chair.
Second, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. I'll
He said
assume you said, okay, yeah, we've got that gap again going, so forgive me if I ask you to repeat. Okay, that takes us to our block number 2, items 14 through 82. Is there anyone wishing to speak on items 14 through 82? These are citations. Anyone in Las Vegas, Mr. Park?
No, sir.
Anyone online?
Nicholas Forrest, I have item number 16 appearing for Mercedes-Benz.
Okay, is there something that you wish to say, sir?
We just want to make sure that our lien is labeled valid and that no sales occur without my client being involved.
Yeah, no, this is just the impound itself. That's action that'll come later.
Okay,
So
that's it. Then. No additional comments.
Okay, very good. All right, we have no other public comment on items 14 through 82. All right, seeing none, looking for a motion, commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve items 14 through 82 as noticed in the agenda.
I'll second, Chair.
Okay, I have a motion by Zoka, second by Teddy. We have asked for and taken public comment. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. That takes us to our item number 83, our tow item. So commissioners, what I did on this is I had Miss Babcock, sorry, I'm getting my notes here. I had Miss Babcock create kind of a cheat sheet for us because we've got 7 updates on this agenda item. And what I want to make sure of is that 1, we understand everything that we're voting on, and 2, that everything is correctly memorialized for staff so that there is no question. And I know we do have members of the Nevada State Tow Association here in Reno, but I'll start with this. Ms. Babcock, go ahead. You have the floor.
Right. Thank you, Chairman. Starting with update 1, and I want to say I appreciate the help, the assistance, and the write-ups that were provided from the Nevada State Towers Association. So I want to make sure I thank them for their assistance with that.
So Ms. Babcock, hold on just a second. Let me just put this on the record. This is item number 83, docket number 2508022. It's discussion to provide guidance to staff and updating the NTA model tariffs to comport with the legislative changes from 2025 session and procedures, filing for tariffs modifications pursuant to and applicable to NAC 706 406, NAC 706 408, NAC 706 4275. And this is for possible action. So go ahead. I apologize. Thank you, Ms. Babcock. Go ahead.
Okay, so for the first update, it has to do with category C mileage for tows in excess of 10 miles. This allows category C mileage rates before it was worded that they had to be similar to categories A and B. That has been removed. We do have line items on our tariff templates now, on our flat rate tariff template. So we just need to make that fillable. However, those are not individual charges on our hourly tariffs. And we would have to allow them to use a separate page for that 10 miles, over 10 miles in category C.
Okay,
The Towing Association has suggested a $10 per mile cap, but it is not required by the regulation. We normally look at any rates that are submitted to see what's normally charged within the industry for those rates. And we would do the same thing for this mileage rate. We're not opposed to them using $10, but do not see that it is needed to be specifically addressed that way. It could be a different rate. As it's not in the reg, then it needs to be $10.
Could I comment on that real quick?
yeah, hold on a second. Anything more, Ms. Babcock?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay. Mr. Bombach, go ahead and identify yourself, please.
Yes, Michael Bombach, Nevada State Tow Association. Ms. Babcock, the $10 per mile wasn't necessarily a cap, but a way to standardize a new price so we wouldn't have different pricing come out with this new rate in the tariff. So I wasn't opposed, or we're not opposed to different rates per mile, but we wanted to make some kind of standardized process for this group tariff submission.
Oh, absolutely. I support that.
If that was it.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions?
None right at the top for me, Chair.
So we're gonna, what I'd like to do with your indulgence, commissioners, I'd like to take each update and do a motion on each one of these updates. And then that way we've got everything memorialized for update 1 through 7. And staff is clear, as is we'll just call them the towers, not necessarily because there's a lot of towers that are outside the tow association.
Chairman, Administrative Attorney Yonit Wilburn, and I can ask for Ms. Guerra's input on this as well. It looks like we are slated for discussion on this item, correct? To provide guidance. So Ms. Guerra, can we take motions on different items here, or?
So, let's see.
Wouldn't it be to Ms. Guerra, and I don't mean to interrupt, wouldn't it be to have the motion to give direction to staff?
So the first question, because I think those are two different questions, Chairman. So the first question of whether or not this has been noticed properly for possible action, it has been noticed for possible action. The question is going to be whether or not the actual concise, it's supposed to be concise and complete, but the actual statement within the agenda itself gives enough notice of what is to be discussed. And that's going to probably be a question amongst the commissioners, because if they're confused on what was actually expected to be discussed and deliberated, then it can be argued that it's not enough information within the agenda item itself. That's the first question. I think the second question you're asking is whether or not this is supposed to be guidance for staff. I mean, it does say discussions to provide guidance to staff on updating NTA model tariffs. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah. You can, well.
Discussion of provide guidance.
It says provide guidance right in the agenda item. So the way I read this is that it contemplates giving us, I believe it gives us some flexibility. That's my reading of it, but I'll acquiesce.
So I think and I'm not trying to answer a question with a question. It's more of, do you as commissioners understand what you're voting on, or what you expected to discuss when you walked into the room when you read this agenda item? And so that might be something that needs to be discussed and deliberated amongst the commissioners. And if it's not specific enough, it could be tabled until the next meeting with more specificity within the report itself. So short answer is yes, you can make a motion, but caution the approach, because it's more like, do you understand what the discussion may be about when you walk into the room?
Okay, so, I mean, there's a number of documents that were given to us commissioners that I believe laid this out very clearly and gives us the ability to vote on this. I do believe we are noticed properly. Personally, I would just as soon not kick the can down the road. I'd like to have this done before year's end so that this could, technically take effect on January 1, but that's my opinion. Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Zoka. I think it's very helpful that for each of these updates that we have in Ms. Babcock's summary and analysis, along with the materials in the supporting materials for the agenda, it's pretty clear as to what staff is recommending. So I think what I would suggest, if it works for the other commissioners, would be perhaps to go down with each update as a discussion item. And at the end of this, we can say, okay, we approve of staff recommendations, except as to maybe A, B, and C. So in other words, we don't have to go line by line and have 10 different motions. We can just handle it by one motion. I anticipate that we'll end up pretty much along the lines of what staff's recommending here, maybe with some changes. And then we can handle that with a single motion as noticed on the agenda. So that would be my proposal, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. And the only reason I made this suggestion as to this type of a cheat sheet with separate motions, Mr. Zoka, was, and I believe we're fully noticed to do it this way. We can separate things out and do separate motions simply because all of the supporting documentation, update 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I think we're well within our boundaries to take each one of those updates. Well, I mean, we can certainly take them as a group, but what I want to make sure of is that staff is perfectly clear as to what the commission's direction is. So that's the reason why I asked Ms. Babcock to create this sort of cheat sheet on item number 83 with each update as an individual.
I don't have any input, Chair. I'm fine with whatever. So,
Okay.
Dealer's choice.
Really?
So let me ask staff this. Ms. Babcock.
Well, we get to move on.
What would, again, I want to make sure that staff is perfectly clear. And I don't have a problem with doing a single motion, but we've got 7 separate updates. And if there's any changes to any of those updates, if we just memorialize them, I believe memorializing them along the way gives staff much more clarity. That's just my opinion.
That's my opinion as well, sir. And previously, things got convoluted and confusing, and I'm trying to keep this from getting any kind of confusion because I do not want it tabled yet one more time. We've had this multiple times, and we've had issues with just blurbs on the notice, for instance. I ran that by every attorney at the AG's office that worked for us at the time. That it's been rewritten by them multiple times, and now it's still questionable. So I just really would like these to go one at a time. And then if we have to table anything, it's clear what's getting tabled. And we're only redoing that section if we have to come back.
Chairman, Jessica Guerra for the record. So if I may,
Yes.
and again, this is a decision for the commissioners. You can motion to take each update one at a time and to make it cleaner, and then go at each update one at a time. Because
Okay.
Because if it's too much, then just to keep a clean record, motion to go one at a time with each update and then address each update as you go there.
Chairman,
Okay.
Administrative Attorney O'Neill Wilburn, I think that would be, I would advise that's the best way to do this at the outset. Just make a motion here that each update will be handled on its own with a motion done on each update. And then you can do the motion on each update. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So motion by Hartung to take, this is item number 83, docket number 2508022 with 7 updates, taking each one of the updates as an individual motion to consider each one individually and then give staff direction.
I will second that, Chair.
Okay, have a motion by Hartung, second by Teddy. Is there any public comment on the motion?
Nobody's approaching, Chair.
Okay, and I don't see anyone raising their hands online. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay, back to update 1. Commissioners, so what, we have a possible motion. This is just a suggested motion to revise the flat model tow tariff template to make category C mileage line for tows exceeding 10 miles fillable, which makes it fairly simple for staff. And that's my insert, fillable, and to add a corresponding separate mileage page for category C when filed with an hourly tow template. So I guess that we back into this, that's kind of what staff is recommending as a possible motion. Do we see any question or changes to that? We'll start with us, and then I'll move over to anyone else that would like to speak or to fill in some blanks for us.
Chairman, Administrative Attorney O'Neill Wilburn. So the motion, as I understand it, it's just to make it fillable. You're not motioning or accepting staff recommendation summary. Is that correct? For example, the $10 per mileage cap or $10 whatever it is, I don't think that's not part of the motion, correct?
Well, I'm sorry. The intent with this was to make it fillable. We can certainly vote on each one of those items as well to put a $10 cap. I do kind of like the idea that a cap is put on it. This is me speaking now. Because it makes things auditable. I think as we go through this, the working backwards to assist compliance and enforcement staff so that we can make sure that when we start auditing things, we understand what we're auditing.
Chairman, legally, I would advise against putting that $10 per mile cap on there. It's not in the statute. I don't think it's a good idea. So that's why that's what I'm trying to get.
Okay.
The motion is just to make this category fillable, correct? We're not saying what's going in there, what's not going in there.
That's the possible motion.
It's the possible, right? But the motion is, what I'm saying is, this is the summary of it. The motion is not taking the summary and making that, yes, that's what we're going to do. It's just saying there's going to be a box to make it fillable, correct? Because that's the way this motion is, the possible motion is categorized, that you're just going to add this fillable box.
Correct. That's the way the motion is styled. Correct.
Okay.
Do you want me to explain that so you understand it better? Or?
No,
Please.
because
Yes.
yes,
It's
because,
put together, right?
yeah,
Do you have that? If you look at the backup document
Yeah,
on your
I'm there.
computer,
which one?
update 1.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I didn't realize the way I numbered my pages, they're not going to be the same as the way they appear on the computer screen. So it would be, because there's 2 lead-in pages, would be on page 5 of the backup documents on the computer, page 5,
Okay.
which is page 305.
Okay.
If you look at that, you'll see zeros marked under category C. Those lines will be made fillable. Currently, they have X's because you can't have a mileage rate for category C.
I apologize. Just
I don't know if my number is past, maybe it's coming up. It says 30 citation 23.
So Liz, I understand, Administrative Attorney Yoni Wilbur, I understand what you're saying. I guess I'm not making myself clear. The motion is very vague. The motion essentially says we are going to allow a mileage line for tows exceeding 10 miles and make that fillable. Correct? You're not telling us what you're putting in that line. You're not giving guidance as to what's to be put in that line. Each one will be looked at separately. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Commissioners, any other questions based on what I'm asking?
No.
No.
Chairman, I'm going to ask that you not mute yourself. It's a public meeting, so I want to make sure you don't go on mute because we need to stay.
So I'm trying to find someone who's sitting in the room and make sure we didn't pass him off, Ms. Wilbur. And that's why I'm, there's nothing nefarious going on
I
here.
understand, but just for, I just think it's better to not mute.
I don't see you.
It's 31.
We voted. We voted on that. It's not, yeah, you're good.
Yeah, because now.
Separated out.
Right.
Right.
Hidden spots.
I think so.
That's all.
We separated
Okay,
these.
so,
Yeah.
so on, if you look at the top three bullets, allow category C mileage rates over 10 miles, make the lines fillable on the flat rate template, add a separate mileage page for hourly templates. That's technically memorialized in all of in the motion. And then a $10 mileage cap is suggested by the NSTA, but not required. That's just a suggestion.
I would suggest not making that part of the motion or not making that
Hey.
something.
Again, that's not in the suggested motion. It's just the summary. So the other thing that staff is also recommending, and this is not memorialized in the motion, that the new mileage line will not be eligible for CPI adjustment for 1 year.
No.
This is annual on this. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if we have any comments from the industry on this item or any public comment before we deliberate on this particular section.
Sure, thank you. Yes, well, first of all, we appreciate the agency's work in putting this. What? Lucas Valletta for the Nevada State Tow Association. Apologies. We appreciate the agency's efforts in taking this next step towards implementing these reg changes, which of course that the agency's already approved. So this is really a technical step in allowing subsequent to this operators to bring individual applications to update their individual tariffs. So we appreciate Ms. Babcock's work and everyone else's. We don't have any specific comment on this element other than say we support it. It's more or less consistent with what we've proposed. And by my read, the form of the motion, possible motion, is sufficient to capture what is recommended by staff here.
Commissioners?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I have. Second.
Yes.
Chair, I don't have anything, to provide.
Okay, Mr. Zoka?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with staff's recommendations here. I'm okay with the motion. The only thing I have a concern about is the $10 per mile cap suggested by the NSD, which is not required under the new regulation. So I would remove that item. With the rest of it, I'm ready to go to a motion.
So that's not memorialized in the motion, Mr. Zoka. Again, those are recommendations.
Understood.
We're
Just wanna
going
make clear
to,
what-
yeah, no, and I appreciate that. So I want to make sure that everything is memorialized in each motion. Again, that's why I wanted to take these individually. And Ms. Babcock, when you and I talked about this, we felt that that was the best way to do it. So the possible motion on the table is motion to revise the flat model tow tariff template, okay? To make the category C mileage lines for tows exceeding 10 miles fillable and to add a corresponding separate mileage part for category C when filed with an hourly tow template. That's the motion that's on the table by Hartung.
I'll, Chair.
Okay, so we have a motion by Hartung, second by Teddy. Let me just make sure, is there any public comment on this motion?
Nobody's approached me.
Perfect. Motion by Hartung, second by Teddy. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. That takes us now to update number 2. Ms. Babcock, go ahead.
It's category C again. Category C recovery uses the same structure as categories A and B. Category C has light or heavy versus A and B, but the structure is the same. The category C recovery fields are not used currently, but can be made fillable. So that is our suggestion for the tow tariff template. The recovery also, they can also recover damages, and they must be listed separately with documentation and photos. And damages do not include loss of use of their vehicles. Damages should not include operator error. And staff requests full NTA policy requiring compliance for this to make sure that failure to do it would result in a citation. And a new definition must be added to the tariff rate definitions for category C recovery.
Okay, so let me ask legal a question. Ms. Guerra, so the second piece of this motion is to adopt an NTA policy requiring that all recovery damage charges be listed separately on the tow bill with supporting documentation and photos and excluding loss of use and operator error damage from allowable recovery charges. Is that sufficient to create a policy for staff, or do we need to bring something back? I'd prefer not to bring it back. I'll be upfront.
So if I'm reading this by the black letter language, if the staff wants to just make a policy for record keeping and obtaining documentation and photos and it be received a certain way, there's no issue with the motion as it's written with receiving documentation. I think the question will come in is that if there is an attempt to make a citation or some sort of punishment for failure, that may require an actual regulation and an actual process for it to go through where it might need to be workshopped. But if the staff is just asking to receive paperwork a certain way, like some sort of administrative request, there's really no issue with this motion. It just comes down to whether or not issuing a citation for failure to meet that may require a actual regulation workshop.
And Chairman, Administrative Attorney Yonit Wilburn, I agree with Ms. Guerra. So bullet point number 6 under this, we need to make sure that we are not anywhere saying that they're going to be subject to a citation when we make this kind of motion or policy, because that, as Ms. Guerra said, I don't think we can put that in this type of motion if there's no regulation or statute on the books about that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. And again, that's the staff's recommendation summary, but it's not memorialized in the motion.
Right.
So, and I think the reason that is there is so that if we did have some flexibility, which it's okay that we don't, I'm perfectly okay with omitting that. We could have amended the motion to reflect those changes. So let me just put this on the record. The possible recommended motion is motion to revise all tow tariff template formats to make category C recovery rates fillable and to add the recovery damage definition to the tariff rate definitions, stating the exclusions for loss of use and damage due to operator error. We'll further move to adopt an NTA policy requiring that all recovery damage charges rather, be listed separately on the tow bill with supporting documentation and photos, and excluding loss of use and operator error damage from allowable recovery charges.
Don't you?
The recommendations are not part of it.
No, the motion stands on its own. The recommendations are just in the event that we want to modify the motion. And it seems that may not be possible. Go ahead, Mr. Zoka, I apologize.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman, for the interruption. Mr. Chairman, I second the motion for purpose of discussion. I would also like to hear from industry on that particular item if they have any comments. Thank you.
Yep, no, I just laid the motion on the table. I was not formalizing it, but I just wanted to put that on the record. That was not a formal motion. So, Mr. Folletta.
Yes, thank you, Lucas Folletta, for the record. We don't have additional comment. We do support this possible motion. Thank you.
It appears industry supports.
Sorry, I think we have comment from our attorney, Ms. Wilburn.
Okay.
I'm going to ask the DAG this, Administrative Attorney Yonit Wilburn, I'm going to ask the DAG this. My concern is the way it's written in in the amendments, an operator and it's NAC 706.408, section 1, and it's going to be 2B. An operator may impose a charge to reflect the cost of recovering the vehicle and any damage caused to the property of the operator. That's the way it's written in the statute. My concern is, and I'm going to ask this of the commission and of the DAG, can we define that or narrowly define that when it's not narrowly defined in the statute itself? Meaning you're allowed to have recovery, however, you're not allowed to charge for loss of use or operator error because that's not written in the statute. So are we defining a regulation where it needs to actually go forward and the regulation needs to be changed? Can we do that?
Well, Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, no, please, Mr. Zoka, chime in.
So I sort of see staff's position as incorporating the principle of contributory negligence, although that's not what they're calling it. But to the extent that the operator is at fault for the damage, that would not be included within that definition of that you read to us, which is the
408, 706, 408.
That's right. And then the other aspect of this is, I think the other thing they're getting at is incidental damages, which is, not directly caused by the event, but, like loss of business, whatever. And so what they're saying is that the way they would read the statute consistently with case law, using the case law, broader case law context, common law context, is to have that sort of interpretation of that particular language. But obviously, we're open to your guidance in that regard. Thank you.
And I agree with that. I guess my concern is putting in those exact words because the statute has, or the regulation has written is so broad that an operator may impose a charge to reflect the cost of recovering. Is that defined somewhere else where I'm not seeing it? I am not as familiar with the tow regulations because I don't deal with tow very often. So that's my concern. Is there somewhere else written what recovering a vehicle entails? Because this is written so broadly, I can see a challenge stating, no, it just says I can impose a charge for a vehicle. And we're saying can, but not for this. Now, I understand what Mr. Zoka is saying, that we are allowed to, and we do have regulations that we're allowed to, and the Nevada revised civil procedure statutes. And in there is stuff that alludes to contributory negligence, as well as you're not allowed to recover for your own error. I understand that. But that's all I wanted to put out there, is that the statute is written, or the regulation is written extremely broadly. It says recovering of the vehicle, and this motion would seem to narrowly tailor it. And are we allowed to do that without workshopping it and changing the regulation itself? It seems like we're adding in words to the regulation that aren't there. That's my concern. And I understand what Mr. Zoka is saying, because we do have the regulation that states we can pull in the Nevada revised civil procedure statute, and maybe something along those lines saying, yes, you can recover for the cost of the vehicle, pulling in all other legal avenues that exist, also understanding the limitations in Nevada law. But what I don't like is the use of the exact words limiting this regulation, and it seems to be in conflict with the broadness as stated in the regulation.
We can, I think, Mr. Chairman, we can save this for a later day, because we could also engage in administrative rulemaking at the time that there's a citation issue, where there's a consumer complaint, and deciding that particular issue on the facts of that situation that arises. What I would know, I do agree with Ms. Wilburn's concerns, but what I would note here is that we read our statutes in the context of the common law, and under the principles of equity, it would not be fair to hold somebody liable for damage that they themselves caused. Hold a third person liable for damage they themselves have caused. And the other principle is the principle of foreseeability, which goes to the issue of operator damage that they're talking about here. So I think what the staff's attempting to do here is to apply those broader principles of equity and common law now in their interpretation of statute, which, if this comes up in a contested hearing, I would certainly be amenable to listening to. I don't think we have to necessarily decide that for today. So I think we can bypass that issue for today, if based on our attorney's concerns. But I would note that I'm generally in support of all these staff recommendations as noted in the summary, and I am neutral on the position of making failure subject to citation for the reasons that were earlier articulated by our DAG and by Ms. Wilburn. So those would be my comments. Thank you so much.
Chairman, Administrative Attorney Oni Wilburn, so what I believe is you can, if you want to make that category C rate recovery fillable based on the conversation, you can, understanding that, yes, it is subject to common law. What I don't want to do is, what I don't like is that this motion is actually adding in exclusions for law. It's adding in words to a regulation where those words don't exist. So that was my only concern. I understand, everybody does understand that we do adhere to common law practice as well as civil procedure, and those will be put into play. So if you cannot show us that this recovery was not due to, loss of use or damage due to operator error, we're going to pull that in. And if it's that, we're going to strike it, because we do follow the common law. We do follow procedure. What I don't want to do is make a motion to add in words to a regulation that aren't there. So with that, I'll leave you guys to it.
Okay, hold on just a second, Mr. Folletta, you have any comments?
Yeah.
Lucas Folletta, I understand what staff is suggesting here is sort of a practical application of the rule that the authority has already adopted. I don't see this appending this language to the form as constituting a policy statement, such that a rulemaking would be required, but we're frankly ambivalent about whether that phrase is in there or not.
Okay. So based on council's recommendation, commissioners, it would be a motion to revise all tow tariff template formats to make category C recovery rates fillable and to add the recovery damage definition to the tariff rate definitions. And to also adopt an NTA policy requiring that all recovery damages charges be listed separately on the tow bill with supporting documentation and photos.
Second.
Yeah, I'm okay with that also.
Okay. So we have a motion by Hartung, second by Zoka. Any public comment on the motion?
No one is approaching.
There are no.
Anyone online? Okay,
There are no.
perfect. Motion by Hartung, second by Zilka. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. That takes us to update 3. Go ahead, Ms. Babcock.
I'm sorry, hang on one second. Making notes here. We're on update number 3. Discounts for good cause. So the template changes aren't needed for this one, and the good cause is that the operator determines. We're requesting that the discounts must be itemized and the calculation shown on the tow bill, separately on the tow bill. And that we have, I'm kind of hesitant now to say NTA policy. So non-compliance is citable because that causes great discussion here. But we do need to be able to tell what discounts are given. If they just give a discount, we don't know why, nobody's going to be able to audit their records.
Sure, exactly. Well, the motion does not memorialize the citation portion of the recommendations. The motion that staff is recommending, commissioners, which I have no issue with, I think this is very simple. It's very straightforward. It's motion to adopt an NTA policy requiring tow operators to record any discount given for good cause directly on the tow bill, including the reason for the discount, the amount, and the calculations used to determine that amount.
Second.
Chairman, can I, are we going straight to vote or is this just for discussion?
No, that's just for discussion. That was
Okay.
staff's possible motion.
I apologize. Go ahead.
That was a second, Mr. Chairman, for purpose of discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
That's where you're gonna run into a convention. Like,
Yeah.
Is this-
All we're doing is similar.
clear because you can actually define good cause if you really wanted to. Right. I don't know if we're going across.
No. You can go ahead. You guys can go ahead and discuss. I apologize, Chairman. I was just talking to something about the DAG for discussion purposes.
Okay. So, is there any public comment on item number 3?
No one is approached.
Stuff.
Okay,
There are no.
I apologize.
That's a question.
Comments? Yeah, go ahead.
May I ask Mr. Folletta a question?
Sure.
Mr. Folletta, how do you see this being applied? Would this be taking off of
Yes.
just the actual charge for towing of the vehicle, or would this be off of the total bill?
I don't know across the industry how people are applying it or will be applying it. I'm not sure there's a practical difference. I think that the tow bill will reflect a discount as determined appropriate by the operator. So the basis of the discount is to be determined by the operator. There's no criteria or specific framework. It's just subject to a good cause test.
Right. I just didn't know if you had any conversation with any of the industry representatives as to how they figured they would apply. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Chairman, Administrative Attorney O'Neill, I'm going to pose a question to the authority just to mull over. So the way the statute reads, as regulated now, as adopted, is an operator of a tow car may discount the rates with respect to a single towed vehicle, which are specified in the operator's tariff, if, in the opinion of the operator, good cause exists therefore. I understand what the motion is to just show us how you discounted it, how you found it. My problem is someone's definition of good cause could be different, right? If we don't have that defined, how is staff going to say, well, I don't believe it's good cause, where the tow operator says, yes, it is good cause. So that's where I don't have a problem with them writing it on their bill and the way the motion is, but what's the purpose of doing that then? For us to look at it and say, oh no, that's not good cause based on what we see, where the tow operator says, yes, it's good cause based on what I see.
Chairman, if I may,
Go ahead, Ms. Babcock.
concern is not what is good cause. I personally would think if it's your mother-in-law, it's good cause. It's up to you, whatever you want. But are you going to give 10% off the whole bill? Are you going to just give 50% off the tow and not the recovery. What are you doing so we can make sure your math is correct and you've given them the correct discount? That's our concern, not what the good cause is.
Is Administrative Attorney Oni Wilburn, just based on what you said, is there somewhere, and like I said, I apologize, I am not as familiar with the tow tariff. Is there somewhere which says what is a good discount and what isn't?
A discount is defined as a reduction in.
I understand, but Ms. Babcock was saying we want to see it to determine if it was an appropriate discount or not. Is there some,
How to calculate.
That's not what she said. She said that not necessarily appropriate, that just the math was correct, how they arrived at the final figure. That's
so just
all.
final bill is correct? Okay.
Excuse me, just for the record, Jessica Guerra. So I just want to answer two questions that might be occurring internally in everyone's mind. So from an OML standpoint, the motion is fine, but from a review based on the discussions that are happening with everyone here, is that there may need to be a rewrite in the motion itself to just remove, because it sounds like from the staff, they don't care whether good costs exist. They just want to know what the discounts were and how those were applied. So maybe removing the language of given for good cause, just say requiring tow operators to record any discount directly on the tow bill, including the discount, the amount and the calculation used to determine the amount. If that is going to take away the good cause issue.
Personally, I don't see that good cause is the issue here. I don't. Good cause is commonly used in law. We see it all the time. And 706 NAC 706-1305 says we shall deviate for good cause. And so I don't personally see that, because basically we're just defining that a discount was given for good cause. Who cares what the good cause is? It can be any good cause, can be, again, somebody's mother-in-law. That's okay. It's fine. Go ahead, Mr. Folletta.
Yes, thank you, Lucas Folletta. Yeah, and that's the derivation of this rule is consistent with that view. The idea that was expressed to the industry by the legislature, which is really where this came from, was that they wanted to put the industry in a position of having to demonstrate good faith and the flexibility of providing discounts in certain cases without defining exactly what those discounts are for, because there was concern at the time that there are people that would have difficult circumstances, be unable to pay a tow bill, and there was no mechanism for tow operators to give a discount at their discretion. So the legislature wasn't particularly concerned with what the circumstances are that give rise to the discount, but they wanted to provide the industry the ability in the tariff to give the discount, whereas it didn't exist before. So it really isn't a question of vetting good cause. There is no particular standard that is being regulated. This is facilitating the ability of the industry to actually give a discount, whereas today we cannot.
So if I were to amend that motion, what I might say is motion to adopt the NTA policy requiring tow operators to record any discount given for good cause directly on the tow bill for the amount and calculation, and directly on the tow bill, including the amount and the calculation used to determine that amount.
Chairman,
Go ahead.
may I have one further suggestion? Just instead of putting good cause in there, just like I said, I know Mr. Folletta said it's for any reason. It's not really for any reason. That's why they put the word good cause in there. But what I'm saying is, can we make, my advice is to motion to adopt NTA policy requiring tow operators to record any discount given under regulation 042-23 subsection 7, and then continue to go and then take out what you did before, including the reason for the discount. So given for R042-23 subsection 7 directly on the tow bill, the amount and the calculation to determine that amount. So it basically just incorporates the section as written. Does that make sense?
Hold on just a second. Let me look at something.
Who's calling
You
you?
could use the NAC number. You're using the,
Right. Do we have an NAC number?
we do. NAC.
Yeah.
It's of your
NAC.
update.
Yeah. 408
All right, perfect.
sub 7. That's exactly what I want to look at. That's
So NAC,
precisely what I'm pulling up.
706.4087. So put that in there instead. Of discount given for good cause, just put discount given under NAC 706.4087.
Oh, it's the entire discount. Reg.
Or better than if they have a toothbrush in the motor. They're living it.
Okay, so commissioners, do we want to
Yes.
call out directly NAC 706.408 sub 7?
So. Chair, I have a possible revision for this.
Go ahead. In fact, I'll rescind my motion. Does the seconder agree?
How about,
Yes.
he does, thank you. How about motion to adopt NTA policy requiring tow operators to record any discount pursuant to NAC 706.408 directly on the tow bill, including the amount and the calculation used to determine that amount.
Second.
I feel like that cleans it up a little bit.
Okay.
And then
Um,
About. Call.
do we need to add sub 7 or can we just leave 706.408 because those are permissible rates and charges?
The entire statute.
Yeah,
Just-
my worry is
Just
if we
cover
start
it all.
doing subs and then they move and they add something, now we've got to change the reg.
Right, so I would, for the record, Jessica Guerra from the Attorney General's office, to cover just to cover it, I would cite the entire regulation. Because the regulation itself is for discounts and tow rates.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the table. Motion by Teddy, second by Zoka. Any public comment? Mr. Folletta, anything?
No, thank you. We support this change.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. That takes us to update number 4. Miss Babcock, we're halfway there.
No, actually, we're not. I'm sorry, though.
Indulge me, Miss Babcock.
We're taking bets on whether this is gonna run up into Friday. All
Lunch.
right, update number 4, which addresses the fuel surcharge from NAC 706.408 2C, which I've just learned we should just say 408. Okay, so the Towing Association proposes aligning the tow fuel surcharge procedures similar to the limousine. This is point 1, similar to how we do the limousine fuel surcharge, which is posted on our website and updated based on the reading for the 25th of each month, then used for the following month. Staff is not opposed to that because it would be more efficient for staff to track and post it, less cumbersome for enforcement to audit it, and easier for carriers to apply consistently. However, our current regulation for fuel surcharge mentions it on a weekly basis, not on a monthly basis. Whereas the regulation for limousines is specific to the 25th of the month. We do support standardizing the fuel surcharge, but I'm not sure whether that can be done. That's point 1. Do you want me to go into point 2 or pick one point at a time?
Doesn't say that's
Uh,
adjustments.
Right. Yeah. Chairman,
Yes.
Administrator Attorney Wilburn, I just wanted to bring one thing to light. Keep discussing 706.408 subsection 2C. While this has been amended, it is not written into the NACs yet. So if you look up the NACs, these don't exist. So that is why I referenced the LCB number, because it is not put into the NACs yet. So we're making decisions based on something that doesn't, it exists in the NAC, it's just not written there today. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that is the only reason I was referencing it. So just to make clarification, we're talking about 706.4082C, which will be put into the NACs, and it is approved as of December of last year. However, it is not, if you look at the NACs today, it doesn't sit there and you won't be able to find it. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. I'm looking at 4082, looking for C. No, I
Right.
understand completely, but these have still been, while they're not codified online, they're still in law. They've taken effect. So I don't know how we deal that. I guess we memorialize it with referencing the LCD numbers. I don't know. I don't know whether that's necessary or not. But I understand
Yeah,
what you're saying.
Alert the authority to that. So if someone tries to go back and look into, oh, they updated 706.4082C, there is no C. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, do you want Ms. Babcock to move on to point number 2, commissioners?
You can.
Yes, that's fine.
Go ahead, Ms. Babcock.
Okay. Sorry, I'm lost here myself on the page.
Mhm.
Okay. The tow association is proposing a separate fuel surcharge page similar to the one we use for the limousine fuel surcharge. It's clearer presentation for customers, has uniformity among the carriers and consistent audit structure. We support that as well. Continue on to point 3.
Any questions, commissioners?
None for me, Chair.
Not for me, Chair.
Comments by the tow association?
No, thank you. We support these changes.
Go ahead, Ms. Babcock, to point 3.
All right, point 3, the fuel surcharge equals 3% of the base tow rate for each 25-cent increment above $3.04 a gallon for the regular. There's also a diesel amount. The components of base tow rate remain unresolved because it just says base tow rate. So what I'm looking for is the definition of the base tow rate. Some of the rates, if you look at the backup materials for this item, which is number 4, item number 4. And on the computer, it would be pages. They're highlighted in blue. Hopefully it shows in blue. Yes, it does. Begins on page 9 of 29. Actually, page 8 of 29. In the backup materials, it's highlighted in blue, and that starts the flat tow rate 5-page tow tariff. And highlighted in blue is what the tow association is suggesting. I'm having difficulty with that, in that we have included in that. Now, if you go past that one, well, it then, let me get to the right page number. If you compare that to page 19 of 29, I've highlighted all of the mileage rates that are currently charged. So there are mileage rates currently being assessed. And so my concern is would we not just put that fuel surcharge onto the one where we're giving mileage rates and not just to everything? Because what is the base tow? There's base tow rates.
And we submit a tariff anyways, when this is all sorted out to include or exclude that.
Hold on just a second, Ms. Babcock. Gentlemen, you have a comment?
I was just gonna say, we're agreeable to staff's approach, to Ms. Babcock's approach.
Okay. And that was Mr. Folletta?
Yes, it was. I apologize. Lucas Folletta.
Thank you. Only reason I asked Mr. Folletta is when we memorialize the minutes, we know who was speaking.
Understood.
Thank you.
If I understood that, they're okay with the fuel surcharge increases going to those highlighted mileage rates. Okay. Then we have,
No, go
That-
ahead.
I'm sorry, that works for the flat tow carriers, but then you have your hourly tow carriers. Let's see. Well, we have a 1 hour and 2 hour. They also have mileage rates.
I don't think we do.
Theirs is.
Categories.
I'm looking for the page it begins, I'm sorry. That's flat. So your hourly do not have that ability. Except for on page 28 of 29, low equipment trailer has a mileage rate.
Commissioners, questions? So here's the real question, and this is memorialized in the motion for me at least, and this is not a motion. This is just, I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay, I apologize. I thought someone was trying to speak. So the possible motion is to standardize the fuel surcharge filing for tow carriers to a monthly methodology rather than a weekly, using the United States Department of Energy Information Administration weekly retail gasoline and diesel price for regular grade West Coast PADD 5 as posted on the 25th day of each month. So the question is for legal, can we actually do that, or do we have to do it on a weekly basis? Which I mean, this becomes a moving target for staff.
For the record, Jessica Guerra, real quick, just a matter of procedure. Are we in deliberations or discussions at this point, Mr. Chair?
We're still we're talking about just everything. So yeah, I mean, there's no motion that's on the table.
Okay.
This is just a suggested motion by staff. That's what I'm discussing right now. So this is still, there's nothing on the table yet.
I believe there was a potentially public comment from, I'm not sure what your role is. I'm very sorry.
Supervisor
Lucas
Brown,
Folletta?
context, Chair.
And Chair, just really quickly before Supervisor Brown speaks, because I did ask him to come up because he's actually been dealing with this already on tow bills. Administrative Attorney Yonit Wilburn. My concern is these numbers are put out weekly, and it's your concern, I believe, too. And they're only allowed to start charging the charge once we hit, go above 324. So let's say this week we're at 327, but next week we're at 322, but you do it for the month. So for week 2, you're doing something you're not really allowed to be doing. Does that make sense? Because you're below the amount where you can charge the fuel surcharge. And I know this is annoying and it's written this way, but unfortunately they come out weekly. So I don't know how that comports with doing it. I think you would be in violation of the law if you did it monthly, because if week 2 is below what you're allowed to charge a fuel surcharge for, how can you do that?
Well, that's exactly my point, that, filing a monthly versus the weekly. So I don't know whether we can actually do that at this time. even though I know it's easier for everybody, including the tow carriers, but I just don't know whether we can do that.
And Chairman, if you would like to hear from Supervisor Brown, I think he has some valuable information to add. The
I'd love
authority.
to. Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
For the record, Supervisory Investigator Jason Brown. So enforcement has been dealing with this and interpreting it based upon the LCB for a little while now. We have interpreted it as the base tow rate is just the flat hookup for Category C. It doesn't include the mileage. It doesn't include the dollies. It doesn't include all of the additional items that are noted on here. It's just the hookup, the flat hookup rate for that. Additionally, because the rate comes out every week, some tow carriers have, instead of changing their computer program, because they use a computerized billing system, they have made it just a flat percentage that is below the percentage that it would be equal to. So hypothetically, if the week that is there is at a 15%, well, this tow carrier does not go in and change their computer billing program. They just have a blanket 6%. It's a benefit to the customer, and they're still gaining something, but they're not gaining what they would. And they, just use benefit to the customer when they do this. Other carriers that do handwritten bills actually go in every single week. They check it, and then they use that percentage specifically for that week. Another issue is the fact that all of these, or most of these tow trucks operate on diesel. But this is based upon the weekly retail gasoline and diesel prices. Well, gasoline is different from diesel, and the rate is different. It does need to be said, and we've taken it as, well, we're going by the diesel rates because the trucks run on diesel. Well, it does probably need to be specified if it's based upon the type of fuel the truck is running. I don't know of any heavy duty trucks that operate on gas engines, but there are some out there that could, if it was possible, or they purchased one like that.
And just to backtrack, the motion does reflect that, although I do think we need to modify the motion, but it says the Energy Information Administration weekly retail gasoline and diesel price, regular grade West Coast PAD 5. So it does contemplate both fuel types, it looks like. Go ahead, Mr. Folletta.
Yes, Lucas Florida. No, I have a thought about this section. And I understand the concern that council is raising. The way I read it is that when this particular metric reaches 325, it's a trigger for implementing the fuel surcharge, but it doesn't specify that the period for which that surcharge can be in place. So in other words, if you wanted to do it on a monthly basis, you can only implement it once this particular index, triggers your authority to impose the increase. But I don't see any reason why the commission or the authority cannot allow that increase to be in place for, let's say, 4 weeks.
Okay.
Chairman, unfortunately, I actually believe Administrative Attorney O'Neill Wilburn, Mr. Folletta might be mistaken on this, because it's actually written into the statute that the retail price per gallon of regular fuel decreases according to this. Any fuel surcharge imposed by an operator must be decreased in accordance with the subsection. So it's any time it goes below the number mentioned here. So the problem is, because these numbers are put out weekly, they have to be checked weekly, because they are required to decrease it once the number goes down. That's the last line of subsection 8.
Commissioners, does anyone want to take a stab at making a motion that we can lay on the table for discussion?
Have a second.
Check your pulses.
Yeah, we're working on it, Chair. We're trying to craft it.
Okay. I just didn't hear any.
Mr. Chair, Attorney Jessica Guerra. I was just informing Ms. Wilburn that as a suggestion, if there's an issue with the first sentence, but not an issue with the second one within the motion, and if the commission, or excuse me, if the board is inclined, or excuse me, the commission is inclined to go forward with a motion, the second one doesn't seem to be an issue to where staff can just start receiving proposed language for defining a base tow rate. Because there seems to be issues with the methodology motion, but maybe not the second sentence.
So basically what you're saying is motion to standardize the fuel surcharge filing for tow carriers to a weekly rate using the United States Department of Energy Information Administration weekly retail gasoline and diesel price regular grade West Coast Pad 5 as posted on, now we would have to say, we would have to change as posted weekly.
I would just say as posted, because it's a standardized posting.
And sorry, for clarification of the record, that wasn't my suggestion. I was looking at the motion to move to direct staff to revise all tow tariff template formats to include a separate fuel surcharge page and return to the authority with proposed language defining base tow rate for fuel charge calculations, including evaluation of mileage components that already incorporate fuel.
Okay. Do you
So that
see,
was-
but, okay, I know, and I understand. Do you see any problem with the first piece of this where we adopt that?
I believe that there's going to be an issue with taking at least the way that I see it as written is the monthly methodology seems to be an issue.
No, that was removed. That was removed. So let me restate. Motion to standardize the fuel charge filing for tow carriers to adopt a weekly rate using the United States Department of Energy Information Administration weekly retail gasoline and diesel price grade West Coast Pad as posted. West Coast Pad 5 as posted. And then I further move to direct staff to revise all tow tariff template formats to include a separate fuel surcharge page and to return to the authority with the proposed language defining the base tow rate for fuel surcharge calculations, including evaluation of mileage components that already incorporate fuel.
For the record, Jessica Guerra, if I understand the commission's position and if there's no additional comment from the public, I believe that there's no issues with this revision.
Chairman, Administrative Attorney Yonit Wilburn, I actually don't think because you're leaving it as weekly, you need the first sentence. The reason for the first sentence of the motion was to make it monthly rather than weekly. But if you're going by weekly, the first part of the sentence doesn't even really need to be there because that's what they're required to do anyways, based on the statute. So I think the biggest thing here is for what Ms. Babcock is saying is that she wants the fuel surcharge page in there.
Don't we have to adopt the West Coast portion of this? Because right now they
It's
can
written-
use,
It's written in the statute. But you have to use West Coast Pad 5. I'm sorry, in the reg, not the statute. It's already in there.
okay,
So the first part of the motion doesn't need to be there anymore. The only reason it was put there was to move it to monthly, which I don't believe you can do.
comments?
We're in support of the reg change. We can manage this either way.
Okay,
Lucas.
commissioners, go ahead. So do we want to just move to, do we want to direct staff, a motion to direct staff to revise all tow template formats to include a separate fuel surcharge page and return to the authority with the proposed language defining base tow rate for fuel surcharge calculations, including evaluation of mileage components that already incorporate fuel?
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion by Hartung, second by Zoka, under discussion. Anything from the tow industry?
Lucas Valletta, no, thank you. We appreciate it and support this motion.
Anyone in Las Vegas wishing to speak?
No one is approaching.
Anyone online?
There are no hands raised online.
We have a motion by Hartung, second by Zoka. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. All right, Ms. Babcock, now we're more than halfway through. We're at number 5.
I apologize, sir. Hold on one second.
Chair, if I may,
Yes, yes.
well, liberated, would you allow for me to run in the restroom real fast?
Yeah, why don't we just take about a 5-minute bio break? We'll come back at 11:05.
Thank you, sir.
We're in
Thank you.
recess.
Yeah, yeah.
This is fine.